Good morning, good evening, and welcome to World of Warships. My name is Robin, and today we have a special and different format for you guys to enjoy. We will be sailing in both the Tier 5 premium destroyers, the Russian Okhotnik and the Japanese Kamikaze, in the same battle. But first of all, thank you very much for tuning in the video. I really appreciate it, and I hope you would enjoy your time here. Second user replay that we are featuring on the channel, and trust me, this one is worth sticking around to. But before we keep going, let's quickly review the details of the ships we are about to sail in. Our Kamikaze is equipped with 4 120mm guns in a 4x1 turret configuration with a stock firing range of 8.7 kilometers. She boasts 12,850 points of health and reaches a top speed of 37.5 knots. Torpedo-wise, she embarks 6 of them in 3 dual launchers. Top range is 7 kilometers at a speed of 68 knots. Her anti-air defense system, pretty much non-existent, is rated 2. Her surface detection is 5.4 kilometers and the armor thickness goes from 6 to 18 millimeters. The Okhotnik presents very different traits in comparison. The artillery consists of 7 130mm guns in a 7x1 turret configuration, with a stock firing range of 9.2 kilometers. She boasts 12,700 points of health and reaches a top speed of 34.5 knots. Torpedo-wise, well, we have enough. Okhotnik carries 12 of them in a 4 triple launchers configuration. Maximum range is a limited 4.5 kilometers at a speed of 62 knots. Her anti-air defense system is rated 5, her surface detection is 5.7 kilometers, and the armor thickness goes from 6 to 16 millimeters. Both ships are equipped with the same modules that are Main Armament Modification 1, Propulsion Modification 1 and Aiming System Modification 1. The player that sent me the replay did not share this build, so I had to hazard some guesses considering the gameplay. For my commander, Preventive Maintenance AR, Last Stand SE, Torpedo Armament Expertise, Radio Location and Concealment Expert. For Hollande's commander, I'm going to have to guess some of the skills as well. Expert Loader, High Alert, Expert Marksman, AR, Last Stand, BOS, BFT and Concealment Expert. So yeah, the obvious question I forgot to answer. The Okhotnik replay got sent to me by OlandeseFumante. Sorry if I butchered your name. And I happened to be battling against him in that specific game. It also took me quite a long time to put this video together. Both replays being quite old, I had to find a way to record them again by getting my hands on an older version of the game. But even though these battles might be a few months old, their fun factor is fully preserved, trust me. So, without any further ado, let's get some footage behind these words and take Okhotnik and Kamikaze to battle. And here we are, on the map New Dawn, Domination Mode. Hollandese got himself a southeast spawn, in reach of Objective Charlie, while I got the complete opposite, northeast, right across Objective A. And both of us are going to push for each respective zones. The matchmaking is pretty straightforward, Tier 4s and Tier 5s, with 2 aircraft carriers on each team. Now, while we are sailing towards the action, we got our hands on 2 massively different ships in terms of playstyle. While Kamikaze can take advantage of a very comfortable concealment and extremely potent torpedo armament, the Okhotnik is basically crippled by nature. On the other hand, the 7 130mm guns at this tier are almost cruiser caliber, and they have the comfort of also rotating 360 degrees as well. While not the most maneuverable of all ships, with a rather horrible turning circle, the ship does pack a wallop and forces you to be aggressive while smart, using islands to close gap, while never hesitating on using your guns. And Hollandese is about to demonstrate the latter points with brio. On our side, friendly CV already spotted a couple of ships. I decided to take the long way to see how the game would develop first. We also have a Phoenix that seems to be progressing through the 1-2 line, and we will see if we can ambush him as our first target. Meanwhile, on Hollande's side, well, the fight has already begun. A V-107 is spotted, and naturally he decides to make his gun sing. While we are dropping our torpedoes towards the freshly laid T-22 smoke and pushing the right side of the island to look for Phoenix, Olandese is going to keep closing the gap to try and hunt the German destroyer. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is that, well, the Okhotnik torpedo system, while having a very short range, has a comfortable reload of only 45 seconds, same as the Kamikazes, you'd say. So he will not be too scared on dumping all of them even if they don't hit. But no need, the V-107 is greeted by yet another full 130mm salvo, and that's enough to remove him completely from the match, granting Hollandese the first blood. Meanwhile, we landed a torpedo on the T-22. Now that's gotta hurt a lot, so we know the German destroyer isn't doing too well either. The Phoenix is completely oblivious of my position, and while our CV is still providing eyes on even more enemy ships, granting me very valuable intel, I am bracing for the imminent encounter with the American light cruiser, which doesn't fail to happen. I don't think she expected that, and she doesn't have any time to react before our torpedoes are already in the water. We loaded armor piercing in advance to see if we could work on a broadside if our torpedoes failed to kill him, but let's be real, 2 are well enough to obliterate our first frag of the game. At the same time, Hollandese smoked up in the Charlie cap and is prepared to deal with the enemy Congo, pushing his position rather determined. Another dump of his torpedoes, but he has to be cautious, the enemy's Vietlana is also roaming around. We managed to gun down the little remaining HP the T-22 had left, and we can claim the A-cap as ours. Simultaneously, Hollandese has to deal with a more pressing issue now. He did land a torpedo on the enemy Congo, forcing her damage control, but it's no matter, his torpedoes are about to be loaded soon. He is still undetected from his own smokescreen, and he can lay down the perfect ambush. And please line up for the kills. A quick glance on the left, Svetlana is still pushing, and he just plays the perfect moves here. 2 sets on the Congo, no chances for him to evade. A quick rotation of the tube, and he unleashes the rest of his torpedoes towards the Soviet cruiser. And the rest, well, is just pure carnage. 7 torpedo hits and 2 devastating strikes, proving the other team that, well, you just do not rush a ship like the Okhotnik, especially when Hollandese is at the wheel. Cherry on the cake, with his AP loaded, he is also able to quickly finish off the Omaha, granting him his 4th frag in not even 4 minutes. Alright. In the meantime, I got bored in my smoke, facepalming at the chat notification. While I thought the enemy Koning would still be pushing, I head out to discover that I was wrong and the German battleship is sailing away. While I do not want to go into a futile chase, I decide to head for the cap and at least secure it before our team gets excessively behind on points. About our team situation here, well, outside of the 4 ships down on our side, Hollandese and I are the only ones who shed blood so far, which is quite funny, and it's far from being over. The massacre has just begun, and I was quite curious about what just happened on the other side of the map. 2 enemy ships, the Duguay-Trouin and the New York, have pushed right through our lines with little to no resistances, and we also had the sight of an enemy destroyer right ahead of them. The Charlie flank has completely fallen, basically the situation is FUBAR and we've been flanked on all sides. While I try to stay undetected from the enemy CV and keep the capture zone uncontested, I do have one target for my torpedoes, and that is an enemy Wyoming. Not the most nimble of all ships, and with the island behind him, he has little room to maneuver in, so I go for a full strike. And let's be as accurate as we can, overlead the target slightly as always, and let them swim. 20 seconds left on the cap, we should be good to go. Let's swap back to Hollande's perspective. As he is speed boosting straight for objective Bravo, it seems 2 battleships are in his way. No threat. He can use the distraction caused by his friendly cruiser behind him to just ignore the fact that, well, he is detected by the Wyoming. And he can get ready to ambush the incoming Iron Duke as well, right before deploying his smokescreen. It really feels like targets are lining up for him, doesn't it? Well, it's kind of the same for us. The strike is accurate on our own Wyoming, and well, 5 torpedoes are enough to send him straight back to port. That's 3 frags for us, and it's about to be 5 for Olandese. His first torpedo strike was a bit behind to anticipate any maneuvers, although the second set hits true, drops the Iron Duke to almost no hit points, and it only takes a finisher salvo for Olandese to get his Kraken unleashed, along with the high caliber medal. That's a lot of damage, and he's not done yet. His smoke is still active, and well, his torpedoes are already loaded. Why not go for yet another point-blank strike against the Wyoming? Now, I just witnessed that right before my eyes, since I'm pushing Bravo to try and deal with that bloody Russian destroyer that is literally slaughtering our entire team. Torpedoes in the water for Olandese. At this point he knows the Wyoming is doomed, and even if he does get punished a bit by some AP shells in return, he is still very well afloat. Additionally, one of their destroyers that flanked all the way around Bravo has now clear eyes on both carriers. And while the Osho is out of range, the Hermes is definitely his next target. Knowing this, I know I will not be able to catch the Okhotnik, and I switch my efforts on ambushing the enemy Mayogi in front. We do have one of our destroyer that managed to flank right for the enemy carriers, but we are not paying attention to that just yet. Our team is very far behind on points, even if we do hold 2 out of 3 caps, although our cruiser at Alpha got defeated by the enemy Koning, and that cap might get flipped later on. It is now a 4 versus 7, and with that crazy Russian destroyer unleashed around here somewhere, well, this is not going to be easy. Enemy Mayogi is sighted. We drop our torpedoes on the spot and rush towards the island for a proper close quarter ambush. The Japanese battlecruiser unfortunately turns in, dodging our set without even knowing it. And while our Kamikaze managed to take out one of the enemy's carrier, keeping our points alive, I have to prepare for an inevitable rush. Now, Olandese have found the Hermes, of course, and with AP loaded, starts working on farming even more damage. The Hermes does return fire with a rocket strike, but that's not going to stop him. 9,400 damage on the third volley. The 130mm have no issue punching right through the Hermes belt. And in the meantime, well, I am about to delete the enemy Mayogi. 4th frag for us. I'm trying to keep the score here, guys. Too many kills happening at the same time. We earn the high caliber medal, and Olandese gets his 7th frag of the game by removing the Hermes, now reaching over 160,000 points of damage. Okay. Most of the fight is quite over now, and at this point I thought, you know what, nope, I am not dealing with this anymore, and I slammed the rudder left to make a turn for Alpha. I know the enemy Koning is still around there somewhere, and while our Kamikaze has done a great job removing both enemy CVs, we are still way behind on points, and we are now 2 versus 4. Never mind, 2 versus 3. In his last strike, our Langley has managed to kill the enemy Izokaze. At least we won't have to deal with her. My RPF indicator just switched and the Alpha cap is being flipped. That's our Koning. But I do have to be a bit careful. In my last engagement with the Mayogi, I did receive an extensive amount of damage, and if there are any chances of winning this game, it relies on saving what I have left. We do get eyes on the Koning, briefly, but I'm afraid we won't be able to contest him in time, and the Alpha cap might have to tick in favor of the enemy for a bit, which is not ideal. Over 9 minutes left, that goes to show what a carnage this game was, since, well, 19 ships went back to port in under 10 minutes. As we approach the Alpha cap, I decide to risk it and peek the corner of the island. And yes, we are not disappointed by what we find. Koning is right there. Oops, hello there. And while we drop our torpedoes, we instantly smoke up before the German battleship has time to zero in on us. We do receive some minor damage from secondary hits, but we are quickly able to reconcile. 2 torpedoes make contact, and we earn our Kraken unleashed by securing the kill. 2 versus 2. That's a close game if I ever saw one. And our Kamikaze, all the way down to the south of Bravo, is heading towards Charlie to potentially contest the cap. We have a chance to turn this around, and my next task is going to sail back to Bravo, which is actually being capped as we speak by Hollandes. He is still backed up by a Königsberg, and out of all the cruisers I need to go through, this is the worst possible kind. Fast-firing guns, nimble rudder and long-range hydroacoustic, well, I would have to be extremely lucky to take her out, and our Kamikaze isn't in a position to provide spotting on said cruiser. But of course, my main concern as of right now is my APF indicator, and I can hear Hollandes' hard bass beats from here. As soon as the cap is ours, I pre-fire my torpedoes where I believe my radio location is leading and head for Bravo, but I don't have time to get my bearings that Hollandes is already here, and the engagement is inevitable. I do have the benefit of the first salvo here, and my torpedoes does not look too bad, but no sauce, and our salvo only grazes him. In return, well, Hollandes hit sets pretty hard and deploys his smokescreen, but on second thoughts, he prefers to keep the fight going, and he's right, I don't stand a chance here. While I naively drop my torpedoes after being correctly baited, Hollandes jumps out of the screen and fires all gun, and yep, that hits hard. I'd even say we are getting lucky here. We do respawn fire, of course, and the fight is close, but the Okhotnik has a clear gun advantage here, and while we do drop Hollandes under the 500 hit points, we get taken out, granting the 8th and final kill to Mr. Fumante. What a fight, what a fight. Not especially the last bit here, even if I tried my best to make it worth it, but the overall game was just a massacre. Our Kamikaze does flip the Charlie cap, but the damage is done. Hollandes will be able to recap Alpha, and shortly after, the Königsberg managed to find our Kamikaze, destroying her and ending the game once and for all. 169,000 points of damage dealt. That's Hollandes' final score. 6,000 XP earned and over 600,000 credits gained. He achieved Confederate, 2 devastating strikes, double strike, Kraken Unleashed, First Blood and High Caliber. Out of 62 hits, 7 citadels, 14 torpedoes and 2 fires. He solo captured 2 bases, assisted in 1, and destroyed 8 ships in the process, earning almost 2,000 base XP. On our side, less spectacular of course, but we did put up a fight. 136,000 points of damage dealt, 2,000 XP earned, and almost 400,000 credits gained. We achieved 3 devastating strikes, Confederate, Kraken Unleashed and High Caliber, out of also 14 torpedoes and 15 hits. We secured 2 solo caps and sunk 5 enemy ships, earning 1,500 base XP in the process. 13 combined kills. I'd say Hollandes and I both had a pretty good run. Granted, of course, his plays with the Okhotnik was something particularly fun to watch. We both tried our best to bring the victory to our team, and I highly appreciated his sportsmanship by sending me the replay afterwards. Well, people, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for sticking all the way through. I hope you've enjoyed your time, and if you did and you're a kind heart, give the video a thumbs up. If you didn't, well, thumbs down, but stay tuned anyway. As always, there will be more content to come about World of Warships. So, until next time, you have a good one, and you take it easy.